The theater curtain slowly rose. King Kong's massive form appeared center stage. The audience erupted into thunderous applause. Carl directed his crew to activate the switches. King Kong's hands were slowly hoisted by chains. He remained silent, allowing Carl to manipulate him, until he heard the name Anne. Amidst the audience's applause, and her hands bound ascended to center stage. The once quiet King Kong, witnessing this scene, suddenly grew frantic. He swayed his body excitedly, gazing at the silent head bowed in before him, his eyes filled with worry and concern. He leaned his head forward, and slowly raised her head. But King Kong wore a look of confusion. This woman was not Anne at all, merely someone dressed to look like her. King Kong roared in fury. It was all a performance orchestrated by Carl. The relentless camera flashes seared his eyes, and King Kong's agitation grew. Unaware of the deception, the audience kept cheering wildly and applauding. Only when King Kong violently wrenched free one of his shackles did the crowd begin to panic. Then came his furious roar, and the audience scattered in terror. Chaos erupted throughout the venue. King Kong grabbed the woman impersonating Anne, and tossed her aside. He then violently tore free from the restraints on his other hand. With a mighty leap, he bounded into the audience, pounding those who hadn't managed to flee. Chaos reigned outside the stage as well. The audience abandoned all pretense of decorum. Amidst the pandemonium, Jack did not flee. King Kong fixed him with a vicious stare, and charged straight at him. King Kong leapt with all his might onto the second floor balcony. His immense weight caused the balcony to collapse instantly. King Kong crawled forward step by step, soon climbing up to the second floor. Seeing capture imminent, Jack darted into a stairwell. King Kong smashed through a window, and leapt onto the street. A car swerved but couldn't avoid him crashing into him. Another car followed suit. More vehicles collided in a chain reaction caused by this sudden giant. The street descended into utter chaos. The screams of the crowd only made King Kong more agitated. He rampaged through the streets, smashing more cars. Suddenly he spotted a blonde girl in the crowd. He grabbed her and held her up to examine her closely. But this wasn't Anne. He tossed her aside carelessly, and frantically searched the crowd again. After several more disappointments, his rage exploded in full force. He overturned every car in his path, and finally vented his fury on a bus packed with passengers. Just as the bus passengers were about to meet their doom, Jack drove his car straight toward King Kong, instantly capturing his attention. King Kong slowly lowered the bus he held, and charged straight at Jack. Jack quickly reversed his car. King Kong gave chase, running wildly. Jack drove him through bustling streets, then into narrow alleys, aiming to lure him to a less crowded area, to avoid hurting more innocent people. Ultimately, King Kong caught up to him, and smashed his car with a single punch. Jack fainted on the spot. Suddenly King Kong froze in his tracks. He gazed toward the quiet end of the street. A familiar figure slowly approached. Her beautiful form resembled Anne's. As the figure drew nearer, King Kong finally recognized her. It was in whom he had longed for day and night. They moved closer, until they stood face to face, and looked at him, and he looked at Anne. Time seemed to stand still in that moment, and gently stroked his fur. King Kong carefully cradled her in his palm, and tenderly touched his face again, her expression radiant with happiness. King Kong led Anne slowly down the street. All traces of his earlier fury vanished. They passed through the woods, to the frozen lake in the park. The ice was smooth. King Kong stumbled, nearly falling. Before he could rise, he slipped again, and laughed at the clumsy giant before her. King Kong plopped down onto the ice, spinning her around on the surface, and laughed even harder. They whirled endlessly across the ice, like a dance meant only for the two of them. King Kong grew more and more exhilarated. Both were immersed in this beautiful moment, completely oblivious to the world around them. How they wished this bliss could last forever. But suddenly a bomb landed on the ice. The massive shockwave instantly hurled King Kong skyward. He scrambled to his feet, carrying Anne as he raced toward the street. Bullets whizzed in hot pursuit. He left, crushing a car underfoot, then scaled the building's external scaffolding up to the rooftop, and leaped from one building to another. King Kong deftly dodged the incoming shells, carrying Anne across the rooftops, as he sprinted toward the Empire State Building. He then scaled its exterior walls at breakneck speed, his grip on and never wavering. Soon he reached the top floor. He sat on the edge of the roof, thinking no one would disturb them here anymore. He gazed at Anne in his palm, watching the sun about to rise in the distance, as if returning to that peaceful night on Skull Island.
Beautiful.
And spoke the same words as that night. Just as they were immersed in fond memories, the roar of fighter jets echoed from afar.